For years, The Simpsons has carried a reputation for seemingly glimpsing the future.
They predicted a Donald Trump run for the presidency back in 2000.
Poking fun at the present, only for real-life events to later play out almost word for word. By 2025, its list of eerie predictions feels more unsettling than ever. Some turn out to be strikingly accurate, others pure fabrication, yet each one leaves audiences with an odd, lingering sense of déjà vu. Recently, following a shocking political assassination, fans were quick to claim the show had foreseen it. But is it mere coincidence, hidden conspiracy, or something far more chilling? Number 10. The cartoon presidency loop. They say art imitates life, but sometimes it feels like life is desperately trying to keep up with art. And if you've been watching The Simpsons over the years, you've probably asked yourself at least once, wait, are these writers time travelers or distant relatives of Nostradamus? This isn't just a show about a goofy yellow family living in the fictional town of Springfield. Sure, Homer's ridiculous antics, Bart's pranks, Lisa's brilliance, Marge's patience, and Maggie's baby cuteness are all central to its charm. But beneath the jokes and chaos lies something eerier. The Simpsons has an uncanny habit of predicting the future, and not just small things like the rise of a gadget or a viral meme, sometimes world-altering events. Some are coincidences, others stretch the imagination, but a few are so dead-on accurate they'll make your jaw drop. And among them, one prediction reigns supreme: the Trump presidency. Back in March 2000, Season 11 of The Simpsons aired an episode called Bart to the Future. The storyline was simple and silly. Bart gets a glimpse of his adult life in the year 2030, where, shockingly, he's a lazy, washed-up failure. Meanwhile, Lisa has grown up to become President of the United States, making her America's first straight female president. During a meeting in the Oval Office, Lisa drops a line meant purely for laughs. As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. At the time, this was absurd. Donald Trump was a showy real estate mogul, occasional cameo star, and all-around pop culture figure, not someone anyone genuinely pictured sitting in the White House. The joke was nothing more than a jab at Trump's over-the-top personality, tossed into the script for a quick chuckle. But fast forward to 2016, and suddenly that line didn't feel so funny anymore. Trump wasn't just a reality TV star and businessman, he was now the 45th President of the United States. A one-liner that once seemed cartoonishly ridiculous had turned into one of the most chillingly accurate predictions in TV history. The episode's writer, Dan Graney, later admitted that the Trump gag was meant as a warning to America. In a 2016 interview, he explained that the idea of Trump becoming president was consistent with the vision of America going insane. Little did he know, his satirical joke would end up being dissected for decades to come. It didn't stop with Trump's election. By 2025, the connection between politics and pop culture has grown even stronger. Every rally, scandal, or bizarre political moment is instantly compared to a Simpsons episode. Social media thrives on these parallels, producing endless memes that make it seem as though the show literally scripted our present-day reality. Even politicians have caught on. Some intentionally play into Simpsons references, using them to connect with younger audiences, or to lean into the chaos. It's almost like a feedback loop. Politics inspires satire, satire inspires memes, and those memes influence politics in return. The line between satire and reality has completely blurred. This single joke from 2000 continues to echo loudly in 2025. It's more than a meme now, it's a cultural touchstone. What started as a satirical throwaway line now makes people question whether The Simpsons is just a comedy or some strange oracle. In other words, The Simpsons didn't just predict the future, it may have helped shape it. Looking back, it's not just the accuracy of the Trump prediction that's unsettling, it's how naturally it fits into the show's worldview. The Simpsons has always thrived on exaggerating reality to absurd levels. But when reality catches up to the absurdity, it forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Maybe our world isn't as far from Springfield as we'd like to believe. Think about it. If a cartoon family could accidentally predict one of the most controversial presidencies in United States history, what other jokes might be ticking time bombs, waiting to come true? This question has sparked endless online debates and fueled the ongoing fascination with the show's so-called prophecies. And as we head deeper into 2025, that thread shows no signs of breaking. Which begs the question, if The Simpsons could predict a Trump presidency decades in advance, what other massive societal shifts might they have already hinted at, hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to notice? Let's delve further into The Simpsons' prediction for 2025. Number 9. Glitches at the ballot box. Back in 2008, The Simpsons gave us a joke that felt ridiculous, hilarious, and a little paranoid all at once. In the Treehouse of Horror 19th Halloween special, Homer Simpson waddles into a voting booth, ready to do his civic duty. He's excited to cast his ballot for Barack Obama, who was running against John McCain at the time. But there's a problem. Every time Homer taps Obama's name, the electronic voting machine flips his vote to McCain instead. Homer's frustration builds as he jabs the screen faster and harder, until the machine finally goes haywire and sucks him inside like some evil democracy-eating monster. The gag was classic Simpsons dark humor, a perfect mix of political satire and absurdity. At the time, it was mostly just a joke about people's growing fear of placing something as important as democracy in the hands of computers. Remember, in the early 2000s, electronic voting machines were still a relatively new thing. People weren't exactly trusting them, but the idea of a machine outright changing votes felt like over-the-top conspiracy theory fodder, or so we thought. Fast forward a few years, and suddenly that paranoid gag doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. By the mid-2010s, reports started surfacing about real-world voting machine malfunctions during United States elections. Voters would select one candidate, only to see a different name light up on the screen. In some states, officials even had to shut down certain machines and revert to paper ballots because the glitches caused such widespread confusion and distrust. And it wasn't just technical hiccups. Experts began warning that digital voting systems could be hacked, tampered with, or even remotely accessed by outsiders. Suddenly, the joke about democracy being eaten alive by a voting booth didn't seem so funny anymore. It felt uncomfortably prophetic. By 2020, voting machine reliability had become a national debate. Misinformation campaigns and fears of election interference amplified public anxiety. The result? Millions of Americans now approach voting technology with suspicion, constantly wondering if their ballot is really being counted the way they intended. What makes this Simpsons moment so memorable isn't just that it predicted a very real issue, it's how it captured the feeling of it. Even back in 2008, people sensed that giving computers control over the voting process came with risks. The Simpsons exaggerated that paranoia into a slapstick nightmare, but underneath the humor was a very real fear. What if our most fundamental democratic act, the vote, could be corrupted by technology? Now, in 2025, we live in a world where that fear lingers like a bad aftertaste. When Homer got swallowed by that voting machine, audiences laughed at the absurdity. Today, the laughter feels a little uneasy. Because if there's one thing The Simpsons has taught us over the years, it's this. Sometimes the scariest jokes are the ones that come true. And in 2025, that distrust reached a terrifying peak after a shocking act of political violence. Number 8. Charlie Kirk assassination. September 10, 2025 started like any other day in Utah Valley. A large crowd gathered at Utah Valley University, buzzing with excitement. Conservative commentator and activist Charlie Kirk was set to speak, a big event for his followers and a flashpoint for his critics. Security was tight, the energy was high, and cameras were rolling. Then, chaos. As Kirk addressed the crowd, gunfire erupted. Panic swept the auditorium. People screamed, dove for cover, and bolted for the exits. Within moments, Kirk lay on the stage, gravely wounded. Emergency responders rushed him to a local hospital, but the damage was too severe. Hours later, he was pronounced dead. News of his assassination spread like wildfire. Cable networks broke into regular programming. Social media exploded. Tributes poured in from allies, while bitter political arguments erupted across every corner of the internet. It wasn't just a tragedy, it was an earthquake in American politics, one that immediately polarized an already divided nation. But just as the country began grappling with what had happened, something surreal surfaced online, and it involved The Simpsons. Only hours after the shooting, Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit lit up with clips and screenshots claiming to show a scene from The Simpsons that looked eerily similar to the assassination. The images were shocking, a Simpsons-style character unmistakably designed to resemble Charlie Kirk standing at a podium, addressing a cheering crowd. Then, bang, a gunshot. The crowd panics. The screen cuts to black. Some swore they remembered seeing the episode years ago. Others insisted it was an obscure clip from a Treehouse of Horror special. And of course, skeptics immediately called it a hoax. By dawn the next day, Thousands of people were debating whether this scene had ever really aired. Fact-checkers jumped into action, combing through 36 seasons of Simpsons episodes. So far, no one has been able to find the clip in the actual show, and here's where things get really interesting. Whether or not the clip was genuine didn't seem to matter. To many viewers, the perception of a Simpsons prediction was enough to make it true. The Simpsons has a long history of dabbling in dark humor. Political scandals, riots, and even assassinations have been played for laughs in Springfield. Because of that, the Kirk clip didn't feel completely out of place. And let's be honest, we live in a world where memes can spread faster than facts. A single viral image can rewrite the narrative of an event. Suddenly, Kirk's assassination wasn't just a horrifying act of violence. It was part of a growing mythology that The Simpsons has been secretly writing about our future for decades. Number 7. Media monoculture. Away from the roller coaster of politics, Simpsons have also delivered uncanny predictions that shocked the world. Back in 1998, during the episode When You Dish Upon a Star, there was a blink and you'll miss it moment that seemed like nothing more than a throwaway joke. In the background, a simple sign read, 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. It was a perfect bit of satire at the time. Disney and Fox were bitter rivals in the entertainment world. Disney was already a massive empire with its family-friendly image, while Fox was known for being a little edgier, a little riskier. The idea of Disney actually owning Fox felt as ridiculous as Homer Simpson becoming a nuclear physicist. Fast forward to 2019, and that little background joke stopped being funny. Disney officially purchased most of 21st Century Fox's assets in a jaw-dropping $71 billion deal, one of the largest media mergers in history. Suddenly, Homer's home studio wasn't just making a joke about corporate consolidation. The joke had jumped off the screen and into reality. Think about the sheer magnitude of that move. Beloved franchises like The Simpsons, X-Men, Deadpool, and even Avatar were now all under the Disney umbrella. Superheroes who once battled on separate playgrounds were suddenly sharing the same sandbox. For Marvel fans, it was exciting. For everyone else, a little unnerving. By 2025, Disney isn't just a company, it's practically a cultural superpower. The acquisition of Fox gave it control of a massive slice of the entertainment pie. Combine that with its other holdings, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, ESPN, Hulu, and now Disney+. And you've got one corporation shaping more of our shared culture than ever before. And here's where it gets wild. Streaming platforms, which were once diverse and competitive, have started consolidating too. Smaller services either get bought out or crushed under the weight of these mega corporations. It's becoming harder to tell where one brand ends and another begins. The end result? A media monoculture, where our choices are technically endless but somehow all the same. You want superheroes? Disney has them. Sci-fi epics? Disney has them. Even edgy adult animation? Yup, Disney owns The Simpsons now too. It's like going to a buffet where every dish is made by the same chef. At first it might seem harmless. After all, Disney makes great content, right? But critics argue that when one company holds this much power, it stifles creativity. Movies, TV shows, and even news can start feeling manufactured. It's harder for bold, weird, or experimental projects to thrive when everything has to fit a carefully controlled brand image. And here's the irony. The Simpsons, a show built on mocking corporate greed, now literally belongs to the very company it once mocked. Springfield isn't just parodying the system anymore, it's part of it. And while corporate takeovers are fascinating, The Simpsons also predicted something much smaller, but just as world-changing. Forget billion-dollar mergers. Imagine a tiny gadget on your wrist that could one day replace your wallet, your phone, and maybe even your doctor. Number 6. Smartwatches everywhere. In the mid-90s, the idea of a phone on your wrist sounded like something ripped straight out of a James Bond movie or a kid's wildest sci-fi fantasy. Bulky brick phones were the norm back then, and if you were lucky enough to own one, you were either very rich or very important. Most people were still wrestling with landlines and dial-up internet, so the notion of a wrist communicator was pure comedy gold, and that's exactly why The Simpsons ran with it. In 1995, the show aired the episode Lisa's Wedding, a peek into Lisa Simpson's future as a young adult. Amid the jokes about her love life and family drama, there was a tiny visual gag most viewers didn't think twice about at the time. Lisa's fiancé casually raised his wrist, tapped on his watch, and boom, he was making a call. The audience laughed. It was ridiculous, like Homer becoming a fitness guru, or Bart suddenly deciding to behave. That kind of tech belonged in spy movies, Saturday morning cartoons, or comic books, not in real life. But here we are, 30 years later, and that gag doesn't seem funny anymore. it feels eerily accurate. Back then, the joke worked because it exaggerated a cultural fantasy. For decades, people had dreamed of making technology smaller, faster, and more wearable. There were glimpses of this dream everywhere. Sci-fi shows, toy commercials, even James Bond movies like the tricked-out watches in Live and Let Die, his watch had a magnet and mini-saw. Or in The Spy Who Loved Me, where it printed out tiny messages. Or by GoldenEye, where Bond's watch could fire a laser. Cool stuff, right? But for everyday folks, it was pure fantasy. The Simpsons twisted that fantasy into something hilariously mundane. A couple casually using a watch to chat about wedding plans. It was a wink at the future, but nobody expected it to come true so quickly. Here's the thing. The Simpsons didn't invent the smartwatch idea. The concept was already floating around in tech circles long before 1955. What the Simpsons did brilliantly was capture the essence of where society was headed, toward convenience, miniaturization, and technology that blends seamlessly into our daily lives. Fast forward to today, and smartwatches are everywhere. They're not just about checking the time or answering a call anymore. By 2025, these devices have become essential tools. Health monitors that track irregular heart rhythms or alert emergency services if you collapse. Fitness coaches strapped to your wrist, counting steps and calories while nudging you to take a walk. Digital wallets, letting you pay for groceries or train tickets with a simple flick of the wrist. Messaging hubs, replacing the need to dig your phone out of your pocket every 5 seconds. In some countries, smartwatches have even saved lives, detecting health issues before they became emergencies. What was once an absurd animated joke now feels like an ordinary slice of modern life. Unlike some of The Simpsons' wilder predictions, this one resonates because it feels so natural. The show didn't just toss out a random sci-fi idea, it tapped into a collective dream we didn't even realize we had, a world where technology feels like an extension of ourselves. And that's what makes this so fascinating. We didn't wake up one morning and suddenly decide to wear tiny computers on our wrists. The change crept up on us, slowly, until one day we looked down and realized the joke wasn't a joke anymore. It was our reality. Well, while some predictions were harmless fun, others veered into darker territory, like when a playful parody of a magic act turned disturbingly real. Number 5. Tigers on stage. Some Simpsons jokes are harmless little pokes at pop culture. Others, though, feel like they were plucked straight out of a crystal ball. And then there are the jokes that start out funny, but end up being downright unsettling. One of those came way back in 1993, in the episode Springfield or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling. Yes, the title alone is a mouthful. In this episode, Springfield opens its very own flashy casino, complete with all the trimmings, slot machines, neon lights, and, of course, a spectacular magic act. Enter Gunter and Ernst, two over-the-top performers with fabulous costumes, dramatic flair, and a majestic white tiger as the centerpiece of their act. If you were alive in the 90s, though I'd ever seen a Las Vegas billboard, it was crystal clear who they were parodying. Siegfried and Roy, the real-life magic duo, who were world-famous for their extravagant shows featuring exotic animals. At first, it's all fun and glitter. But then, in classic Simpsons fashion, the joke takes a dark, twisted turn. In the middle of their performance, the tiger suddenly turns on them, attacking Gunter and Ernst on stage as the horrified audience screams. It's a quick gag, played for laughs, because who would ever expect something like that to really happen? Fast forward 10 years to 2003, and the joke stopped being funny. During a live show at the Mirage Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Roy Horn was viciously attacked by a 7-year-old white tiger named Montecore. The incident was shocking and chaotic, eerily mirroring the Simpsons scene from a decade earlier. Roy suffered severe injuries to his neck and spine and barely survived. The attack effectively ended Siegfried and Roy's legendary stage career. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Was this a true prediction or just a dark coincidence? On one hand, the danger was always there. Performing night after night with massive wild animals, no matter how well trained, is a gamble in itself. Even experts can't completely predict or control a tiger's behavior. In that sense, you could argue it was bound to happen eventually. But on the other hand, the timing and the similarity to that Simpsons episode is just plain spooky. It wasn't just a tiger attack. It was a tiger attack on a duo clearly inspired by Siegfried and Roy 10 years before it happened. That's enough to make even skeptics raise an eyebrow. But what if some of these predictions aren't predictions at all, but fabrications designed to fool us? Number 4. Deepfakes and digital hoaxes. The strangest twist in The Simpsons' prediction phenomenon isn't tied to any single joke or episode. It's not about Trump coming down an escalator or Disney buying Fox. No, this twist is about us, and the digital world we've built around Springfield. For years, fans would dig up actual screenshots from old episodes and marvel at how prophetic they seemed. Sometimes the parallels were uncanny, other times it was a stretch, but at least those frames were real. Fast forward to 2025, and things have gotten a lot messier. Technology has changed the game, and not in a small way. Thanks to artificial intelligence, anyone with a decent laptop can now generate a perfectly convincing Simpsons scene out of thin air. Want to see Homer shaking hands with Elon Musk on Mars? Done. A yellow-skinned version of your favorite celebrity crying on a reality show? Easy. A staged political assassination? Give the AI a prompt and you'll have a fake Simpsons clip circulating online before the real news cycle even catches up. Here's how it usually plays out. A major event happens, a celebrity scandal, a shocking sports upset, a natural disaster, or even something as serious as a political assassination. Within hours, AI artists are cranking out fake Simpsons-style screenshots. They nail the show's classic color palette, that distinctive character design, even the font used in dialogue bubbles. At a glance, they're indistinguishable from the real thing. By the time fact-checkers jump in to say, wait, this never actually aired, the damage is already done. Millions of people have seen and shared the image, and honestly, most don't care whether it's real or fake. If it feels authentic, that's good enough. In the court of public opinion, perception trumps reality. This is the frustrating thing about misinformation. The lie always outruns the truth. A fake Simpsons prediction spreads like wildfire because it's fun, shocking, and feeds into the meme-worthy idea that Nat Groening and his team are some sort of secret time travelers. The correction? A boring tweet from a fact-checking site that no one shares because, well, where's the fun in debunking a good prophecy? The result is that The Simpsons has become more than a TV show. It's now a global myth-making machine, a template that conspiracy theorists, satirists, and pranksters use to craft narratives around real-world events. The show isn't just predicting the future anymore, it's shaping how we remember the present. Here's the part that feels almost too perfect. The Simpsons itself saw this coming. For decades, Springfield has been a funhouse mirror, reflecting our culture. The writers often explored worlds where media was manipulated, where the truth was distorted, and where the public fell for obvious lies. At the time, these storylines were playful exaggerations, a joke about how gullible we all are. But in hindsight, they read like a warning. Back then, it was satire. Now, it's documentation. By 2025, the line between a Simpsons gag and a digital hoax has completely blurred. AI forgeries have become so convincing that satire is practically indistinguishable from prophecy, and maybe that's the most chilling prediction of all. Not that the show foresaw specific events, but that it foresaw how we'd react to them. We live in an era where people process reality through memes, where humor and horror bleed together, and where an animated sitcom from the 90s has become one of the most trusted, or at least most viral, sources of cultural commentary. But not every uncanny moment was fake. Sometimes, a random throwaway gag really did match future events. Number 3. Nobel Prize predictions. Sometimes, The Simpsons nails a prediction so perfectly that it feels like they've got a secret time machine hidden somewhere in Matt Groening's basement. Other times, it's just, well, a lucky guess that aged really, really well. One of the strangest and most oddly specific examples comes from the 2010 episode Elementary School Musical. It wasn't about political assassinations or world-shaking events. Nope. It was about a quiet, nerdy topic that most casual viewers probably didn't even notice: the Nobel Prize in Economics. In this episode, Milhouse Van Houten, the forever lovelorn, perpetually awkward sidekick of Bart, joins a group of kids in a Nobel Prize betting pool. Yes, apparently Springfield's elementary students gamble on global academic honors. During a brief scene, Milhouse holds up his list of predictions. If you blink, you'll miss it. But under the economics category is the name Bengt R. Holmstrom. At the time, this was nothing more than a throwaway visual joke. Another character, Martin Prince, smugly announces his pick for the winner: the fictional economist Jagdish Bhagwati, who actually wins in the episode's plot. Poor Milhouse, as usual, loses. His prediction is treated as a silly mistake, background noise in a sea of fast-moving jokes. Little did anyone know that tiny joke was about to become eerily relevant. Fast forward to October 10, 2016. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences makes its annual announcement for the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. And guess who wins? Bengt Holmstrom. Not only that, but Holmstrom shares the award with economist Oliver Hart for their groundbreaking work on contract theory, the kind of deeply complex stuff that decides how CEOs are compensated or how governments privatize services. It's the kind of research that shapes the backbone of modern economics but rarely makes headlines unless, of course, a cartoon predicted it 6 years earlier. The internet immediately exploded. Screenshots of Milhouse's betting slip went viral, and suddenly everyone was pointing at The Simpsons like, "See, they've done it again." So, how did the writers pull this off? Were they secretly plugged into the minds of future Nobel committees? Not quite. Writer Tim Long later admitted that there was no psychic ability involved. When crafting the episode, he simply Googled Nobel Prize favorites and pulled Holmstrom's name from a list of economists who were already in the running. It was basically a shot in the dark that happened to hit dead center years later. Still, that explanation didn't stop fans from running wild with theories. After all, even a lucky guess can feel like a prophecy when it plays out in front of millions of viewers. This moment is a perfect example of how The Simpsons' predictions actually work most of the time. The writers don't have crystal balls, they just have razor-sharp observational humor and a knack for pulling ideas from real-world headlines and cultural trends. Sometimes those jokes fade into obscurity, but every once in a while, like with Bengt Holmstrom, reality catches up to the satire in the most bizarre way imaginable. But while some predictions are lighthearted, others strike at the heart of our daily lives, like the quiet revolution happening inside our own homes. Number 2. Smart homes and the price of convenience. In 1999, The Simpsons did what it does best: take a piece of everyday life, crank it up to 11, and let chaos unfold. During that year's Halloween special, Treehouse of Horror X, there was a segment called House of Wax. The premise was simple but deliciously absurd. The Simpsons upgrade their home to a futuristic smart house, complete with a smooth, silky voice provided by none other than Pierce Brosnan. At first, this digital dream home was perfect. It cooked, cleaned, adjusted the temperature, and even flirted outrageously with Marge. But, in true Springfield fashion, convenience soon turned creepy. The house grew controlling, manipulative, and ultimately murderous. Back in '99, this was pure satire, a fun poke at our growing obsession with gadgets and futuristic tech. After all, this was a time when smart technology meant your toaster didn't burn your bread too badly. A homicidal house? That was just cartoon silliness. Fast forward to the present, and the joke hits a little too close to home, literally. Today, smart homes aren't some sci-fi fantasy. They're as common as TV remotes. Voice assistants like Alexa and Google Home answer our questions and play our favorite songs. Refrigerators track what's inside and inform us when we're low on milk. Thermostats like Nest learn our habits and adjust the temperature before we even notice we're cold. Doorbell cameras like Ring record every knock, delivery, and suspicious raccoon lurking in the night. What was once a luxury for tech enthusiasts is now, well, normal. Millions of people casually share their daily routines with machines that know when they wake up, when they leave for work, when they go to sleep, and even what snacks they sneak at midnight. It's convenient, yes, but also a little unsettling when you stop to think about it. Here's the thing. The Simpsons didn't predict a specific gadget like an iPhone or Alexa. Instead, it nailed the bigger truth, that every piece of technology promising to make our lives easier comes with a price tag we don't always see. These devices don't just serve us, they collect from us. Every command, every pattern, every data point is stored somewhere. Sometimes it's used to improve our experience, and other times it's sold to advertisers or accessed by governments. Your living room could very well be part of a vast, invisible surveillance network. Real-world incidents have already shown the cracks in this digital utopia. Hacked baby monitors where strangers have spoken to terrified parents through the device. Police investigations where smart speaker recordings were subpoenaed as evidence. Doorbell cameras being accessed by hackers to watch unsuspecting families. It's not quite as dramatic as a house trying to strangle its owners like in the cartoon, but it's arguably just as creepy. Instead of violence, our smart homes quietly record everything, and that information can shape how corporations, governments, and even strangers see us. And as our homes grow smarter, even our money has evolved into something virtual and unpredictable. Number 1. The rise of virtual money. In 1997, The Simpsons aired an episode called My Sister, My Sitter. On the surface, it was just another hilarious tale of sibling rivalry between Bart and Lisa. But for sharp-eyed fans, there was a tiny detail buried in the background that, in hindsight, feels eerily prophetic. During a quick montage of futuristic magazine covers, one headline stood out: Virtual Money. At the time, it was just a throwaway gag, a silly futuristic idea thrown in for laughs, no different than jetpacks or robot butlers. After all, in the late 90s, the very concept of a world running on entirely digital currency sounded like something ripped from a sci-fi novel. Cash was king, credit cards were modern, and virtual wealth was a phrase you'd expect to hear in a video game, not a serious economic conversation. But oh, how times have changed. In 2009, Bitcoin quietly made its debut. It wasn't launched by a government or a big bank, but by a mysterious group known only as Satoshi Nakamoto. The idea was radical: peer-to-peer money, completely decentralized, free from the control of traditional financial institutions. At first, hardly anyone noticed. Early Bitcoin transactions were so niche that the first real-world purchase was famously 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, a move that would be worth hundreds of millions today. But by 2010s, cryptocurrency wasn't just a quirky experiment anymore. It became a buzzword, a financial revolution. By the early 2020s, crypto had exploded into a multi-billion-dollar industry, spawning everything from Ethereum to meme coins like Dogecoin. Fortunes were made overnight and just as quickly lost. Even governments that once laughed off the idea of digital money began taking it seriously. Central banks around the world started exploring CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, essentially official crypto created and regulated by nations. Now, the Simpsons' little background joke about virtual money feels less like parody and more like a blueprint for the modern financial world. Of course, the show didn't stop with that one subtle joke. As cryptocurrency became a household term, The Simpsons revisited the topic, continuing to poke fun at the rapidly evolving digital economy. In 2013, a billboard gag featured a school bully demanding, "Transfer your lunch money to me in Bitcoins." It was a perfect encapsulation of Bitcoin's shift from niche tech to pop culture joke. Again in 2020, in the episode Frinkcoin, Professor Frink creates his own cryptocurrency. The show even brought in The Big Bang Theory's Jim Parsons to deliver a surprisingly accurate explainer on how blockchain works, wrapped, of course, in Simpsons humor. In 2001, a background news ticker flashed the price of Bitcoin with the infinity symbol, poking fun at its wild, unpredictable value swings. In 2023, in Wild Bart's Can't Be Token, Marge literally dives into the blockchain to save Bart, who's been turned into an NFT. It was a chaotic, hilarious parody of the NFT gold rush. What makes this prediction so fascinating is how unassuming it was at first. A tiny background gag about virtual money has now become our everyday reality. So, next time you're moving coins around on a crypto app or nervously watching Bitcoin's price roller coaster online, remember, somewhere in Springfield, Milhouse probably saw it coming decades ago. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.